ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Alright, so today's video, I'm going to talk a bit about Wonder Woman number 9 and 10, written by Tom King, with art by Daniel Sampere and color by Tomeu Mori. I didn't do a video for issue number 9 largely because I didn't really know what to say about it. It's a good issue, solid issue. It's one of those that's kind of more of a case study on Wonder Woman as a character. Honestly, a lot of stuff that I have kind of already repeated and said a lot over the course of Tom King's series. I felt like I would honestly just be reiterating a lot of stuff that I have already told you. Like, it's really just confirmation of a lot of the things I've said about Diana as a character, going all the way back to the very beginning of this, leading all the way up to now. If there's any one thing to take away from it, though, is that it is just proof positive that once again, while the Sovereign has tried to break Diana Prince and try and turn her over to his will, he has been unsuccessful. He is trying to use trickery of the mind in trying to subjugate her in such a way that using old-timey trad wife trappings to try to turn Wonder Woman over to his side. And while that hasn't worked and he has even kind of paid the price for it, she is now being worked on through her mind using Steve Trevor, and you kind of seeing that, well, yeah, she's kind of jumping across from all these different periods and moments between her and Steve, and having these conversations that kind of help put their relationship and their history into better perspective. It's also very clear she is not free from her actual physical prison, and we can tell Diana's mind is already kind of starting to break. It's one of those situations where the hero is broken, but they're not showing the villain that they are broken. And by the time we get to this issue of number 10, we see that what the Sovereign has done is dumped Wonder Woman on Cheetah Isle, where you would imagine you would find Barbara Ann Minerva, aka Cheetah. We saw not too terribly long ago in Wonder Woman number 4 that Cheetah, while she is, chilling, kind of maxing out and relaxing all cool, she is, for all intents and purposes, keeping up with current events because she has a radio right next to her, kind of letting you know that she is at least aware of current events. And while it doesn't seem like it at first in this issue, it's largely because Cheetah has not eaten. She is very hungry. So when she sees Diana wash up on the island, it is time to throw hands. This is kind of one of those moments where I personally am usually not very fond of these instances. It's the classic hero and villain who technically aren't really at each other's throats anymore. Characters who have kind of already made amends with one another, but for whatever reason, the story is written in such a way where the characters kind of have to be at odds with each other, even if only for a little bit. This is kind of one of the few instances where I'll let a little bit of that slide, largely because Cheetah has been going through a lot as of late, and while for a good while she was a more monstrous and animalistic version of herself, I've talked about this more recently, but Cheetah has actually, she's turned back to a more human-esque version of the Cheetah persona. And in this, there's a bit more reason and rationale that comes along with this. The reasons behind why Cheetah strikes at Wonder Woman first is, as I said before, she's hungry. She's been starved. So a starved animal will do what a starved animal does. And while it is still on brand for them, it doesn't feel forced in any way. My main worry and concern was that Cheetah was going to just be thrown back into being a bog standard villain. And I actually appreciate the fact that Cheetah was largely left out of the proceedings of, I believe it was Wonder Woman number 6, where all the other 6 Wonder Woman villains that she has faced off with throughout the decades had come back and fought her all at once. I like the fact that Cheetah was left out of that because it gave me hope that maybe Cheetah was not going to get involved in this. And while technically she does, it's not in a way that is by her own choice. So I think that that's also a really nice step in the right direction for Cheetah. And the fight itself, well, I'm not going to go too terribly deep off into it because I don't feel it's anything that's worth digging too terribly deep into, largely because, as a story goes, we know that Wonder Woman and Cheetah have this very complex history, and this kind of more lending credence to kind of early DC rebirth, where Barbara Ann Minerva had been turned into the Cheetah in this particular instance. And while they started off as friends, besties, borderline sisters, if you will, and then becoming enemies as Barbara was turned into Cheetah, and then, Barbara kind of finding her place, many issues later, I think it literally taking up to like 4 to 5 years for her to kind of get her act together, get straightened out, maybe even longer than that if we're being brutally honest. I like that when they finally got to sit down and have a conversation with one another and realize the things about one another that I feel like they have always kind of hinted at and, you know, danced around. Those things are still there. The fact that while Wonder Woman, she doesn't like fighting Cheetah because, you know, she sees her as a sister, she sees the person who she once knew, Barbara, she sees her, not the monster that she has become. And while Cheetah may see the way Wonder Woman looks at her as being pity and looking down upon her, it's actually not the case. All Wonder Woman sees is the person who she used to know. That is something that kind of helps Cheetah feel seen, you know, as the person that, not as she is today, but the person she once was, something that is largely lost to her. And I like how Tom King is bringing this all together and putting Cheetah and Wonder Woman on the same side alongside the Wonder Girls, which also feature a lot in this issue. Their part of this is largely played for wacky shenanigans, and they're all good and fun wacky shenanigans, but nothing that is necessarily, you know, anything I need to deep dive in on. But I do appreciate their presence. I appreciate that they're kind of being allowed to have some kind of you know, level of storytelling in this. And while it is kind of funny to me that, you know, none of them knew how to operate the invisible jet, I feel like, man, that is something that I would imagine they would understand or know how to do. But yeah, I did appreciate that. Was, you know, kind of a nice little, you know, kind of funny aside to break down the emotional tension from the main meat of the story. And then seeing that when you get to the end of this, you discover that, yeah, Wonder Woman basically Batmaned this whole situation. Like, and it's something that I feel people don't give Wonder Woman enough credit for, is being so strategic, being so analytical in how she does things. It puts all the other issues that we've had leading up to this point, going back to Wonder Woman #5, where she was going to each and every one of the Wonder Girls and trying to get them to stay out of the whole affair. And once they came back and said, no, we're not going to do that, we are going to stand by your side, and how they were able to get involved, we saw that in issue #6, they had taken Sarge Steel, taken him captive, and, you know, by the time we get to Wonder Woman I think is 8 or 9, I believe we learn, like, you know, what information they got out of him, and largely it's where Wonder Woman was going to eventually wind up being kept. This is how all of this comes together, and the Wonder Girls know where to go to find Diana and ultimately Cheetah. And I like how no one is really, you know, everybody sees that Wonder Woman and Cheetah are arm in arm when they step out onto the shore of the beach when they're being picked up. And while Cheetah is not necessarily joining in on the hugging session, I appreciate that no one tried to attack her. Though I will say what I did find very odd in all this is that it seems the Wonder Girls have been left on Cheetah Isle. Which I thought was kind of funny, considering that they flew all the way out there to bring her the jet, to come and save her, rescue her, take her back to civilization. But at the end of the day, no, that's not what this is for. Diana just gets in the jet with Cheetah, and they just ride off into the sunset, and it's awesome. But yes, all of this whole plot point, this whole sacrifice story arc has basically just been a case study in who Wonder Woman is as a character. And once again, I wasn't going to focus on any of that because I've literally talked about it for several videos now, ad nauseum, I would dare say. I feel like if between my videos and reading this story, you still don't know who Wonder Woman is, or how she is, or why she does what she does, then you cannot be helped. It just is what it is at this point. But that said, I think Tom King is still cooking on this. I love it. This is still probably, by and large, maybe short of Green Lantern War Journal, probably my favorite DC series up to this point. I've kind of hard body fallen off of DC just because, you know, the Superman stuff, while it was interesting, it's kind of started to lose me, and I've just kind of gotten to the point where I just don't care anymore. Absolute Power is about to start, and I do not care. Batman lost me. It just got dumb. The Zur stuff went from sugar to shit, like, real fast. But, you know, this Wonder Woman has been very consistent. I think the Green Lantern War Journal stuff has been very consistent. And I'm struggling to think of any other DC books right now that are really just, you know, holding my attention. But yeah, right now, this right here, Tom King is money. He's money on this, and it makes me proud to see this as someone actually, you know, tackling a Wonder Woman story from this perspective and putting so much respect on Diana Prince's name, and even the names of the Wonder Girls and her other contemporaries, and even some of her villains. I think that's a cool thing to see. And I just, yeah, like I said, I do look forward to the rehabilitation of Cheetah, because I feel like that's a character who, well, yes, probably one of the more recognizable Wonder Woman villains. I feel like Cheetah's kind of reached that point where it's like, can you really stay a villain now after all these years and, you know, not grow or evolve? And I kind of feel like that's the trajectory she's on, so I hope it stays that way. And I hope that the Wonder Girls get more to do in the future, though. I mean, once again, that has more to do on DC editorial than it does anything else. And I feel like probably on sales of this book alone, which, you know, there's going to be issues there just because, you know, there's a lot of people who are angry about this book and don't want it to exist because it makes them feel some type of way. And yeah, there's that. I'm not going to really focus on any of the stuff going on with Trinity in the back of the book, because largely the stuff in the back of the book, while it is definitely of note, it's usually just kind of funny aside stuff. I enjoy it, but I mean, it's just really cute. Just, you know, Trinity growing up being a kid. It does inform you on how she becomes the person she's ultimately going to become, the childhood that she has had. I kind of want to see more present day, closer to the here and now, ultimately. And that's kind of where I'm at on that. But all in all, fantastic book. Awesome as is usual. I think there's only been one issue of Tom King's Wonder Woman that I have not enjoyed thus far, and I believe it was issue 7. And it's not even that I didn't enjoy it, it's just that it didn't have anything to do with anything else. It was just an aside. It was like, you know, I've been saying the word aside a lot, but that issue was a whole issue of aside, and you know, you got to give me a little more meat than that. It was cool to see. It was awesome seeing Wonder Woman and Superman shop for birthday presents for Batman. But I mean, I kind of, that 6th issue was so good, I didn't want to go backward. I don't know what the overall plan is for this book. I know we've got 10 issues thus far. 10 issues can be an ongoing nowadays. You never know. I know how Tom King is. Usually, at the very least, you're going to get about 12 issues out of this guy. Considering that's Wonder Woman, I would say you're probably bound to get more as long as he's got a story to tell. But I don't know where this will ultimately end. But if I had to hazard a guess, I would say the safe bet is give this about another couple of issues before, and I would actually dare say maybe even, since this story arc just wrapped up, maybe another 5 issues just to kind of get us there. Maybe, you know, 16, I don't know. But I want to believe that this is going to be like a proper ongoing series. But, you know, once again, Marvel and DC have very different ideas of what ongoing series are from what they used to be. You guessed it, obligatory channel outro time. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider doing so. Clicking that subscribe button and tapping that notification bell ensures that you get more videos just like this one, and you don't miss any of my other content that I drop throughout the week, plus my live streams every Thursday and Saturday. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click that like button, keep it plus ultra, and sound off in the comments.